Good evening. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody know that the stream is currently on the air. Okay, before I get into tonight's topic, I wanted to give everybody a update on the SJS Direct 2026 catalog. Now, this week I got the 3 paperback editions of the 3 books of the SJS Direct 2026 catalog from Amazon, and I did an unboxing video earlier this week. Now, this week, basically, I got the first book that's going to be coming out on March 27th. This is John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse, with a cover by Des Taylor, a great artist from the UK who is known for his iconic art that's featuring Marvel and DC characters. And this is the second time I was able to work with Des Taylor, and I was really glad to be able to work with a great artist like Des Taylor on the cover of John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse, after the amazing work he did on the previous Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. I mean, the art he did on this cover just absolutely pops. I got to go buy myself a new edition because this one's pretty beat up, but he did a fantastic job on this cover, and I'm sad that not a lot of people bought this book with Des's fantastic art on the cover, and I'm hoping more people will pick up John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse, because I would love to continue working with Des Taylor. He's an artist whose work that I love, and I would love to continue seeing his work on John Haynes covers, but I can only do that with your help. So I really loved the work that he did on this cover. He gave John and Esteem a great look on this cover because he was trying to make it look more like the old Pulp Fiction covers, and this cover just really pops, and it really fits this story, which is the conclusion of the first story arc of the John Haynes series. And again, you can pre-order this book right now on Amazon.com, or you can wait for the paperback on March 27th. But this is the first book of the SJS Direct 2026 catalog, and I'm hoping that it helps to take the SJS Direct imprint to another level. Now, Des also designed the new logo for SJS Direct, and that's on the back of the book. So he did a fantastic job overall on this book, and that's something that I was really proud to be able to work with him on. Now, the second book that will be coming out on April 17th is ISIS Runway of Doom. And in this one, the goddess next door struts her stuff on the runway and runs into some opposition from Golden Shine and her Glamazons. And this is a fun story that basically revolves around Isis entering the fashion industry and talks all about Black people and our contributions to fashion, like through events like Ebony Fashion Fair. So this book will be available on Amazon.com in paperback on March 17th. And I really love the work that Bill Walko did on the art and Romel Umil did on the colors, because this cover really pops. And I'm hoping more people will pick up this book in the ISIS series, which is in its third story arc, and pick this one up and check it out. Now, the third book I did was Esteem a New Woman. And this was a story that I had to, I put together as related to being a flashback story set about 3 days after the events of the temptation of John Haynes. And it covers how Esteem lays out her mission for her relationship with God, and also shows how she's going to start her new life in Christ as a new woman. And I basically go with the whole concept of what is presented in the Bible regarding us being new creatures in Christ. And that's all presented here in this flashback story, which I had to do really quickly. Now, all three of these books were books that I had been working on before I had my heart attack. And the first one I had written was Isis Runway of Doom. I did that one around part of 2024. And I had did a little bit of John Haynes, but I managed to get all three of these books done after I had that heart attack in July of 2025. And I thank God I was able to get these books to you and be able to still be here. Now, I wanted to give people a little progress on my recovery from this heart attack. Now, this week I wound up completing the 36 weeks of cardiac rehab. And after completing those 36 weeks of cardiac rehab, I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm trying to get myself back up to being at somewhere as related to my health. Now, with this diagnosis of heart failure, I understand that I have a limited time as related to life, but I still have to go out here and do my best. And that's what I'm trying to do right now, because while I've again written the 2026 books, I'm still working right now on the 2027 books, and I continue to go out here and try to do work for myself as related to trying to build my business. And that's what I've been trying to do, for the last 17, 18 years, just still trying to hang in there and trying to keep going like God told me to do, just trying to keep going, keep trying to persevere even in the face of adversity. And when it comes down to that, that's something that really segues into tonight's topic, as related to Black-owned businesses, because one of the things that I run into as a Black business owner is that, Joy, I did lose a lot of weight. I went from 260 to about 230, and my A1C for diabetes went from being at 14 all the way down to 5.4. So my health has really, again, had some progress, but I'm still got a long way to go. So I want to get into tonight's topic, because this is one that that segues into a lot of the issues that I had as related to my health. I try to follow God when he told me to keep going as related to things. But one of the things that, makes things hard for me these days is that after I lost my job, I was still trying to build this business of SJS Direct. It was something I was supposed to do, as a side hustle, as I had a job. I had a job at City College. My plan was just to do these books on the side. That was something I was planning to do, but eventually it turned into my full-time thing after I lost my job. And as I was starting this company, basically, as I was looking for jobs, I ran into a lot of these employers who basically was out here saying, oh, you got a business, why would you want to work here? Not understanding that, when you're starting up something, it's not going to be fully operational. And when it comes down to publishing and you have a business, it's not fully operational when you're starting out in the beginning. like many companies like Amazon and Apple, basically, they start out small in places like somebody's basement, somebody's garage, or in my case, somebody's bedroom. And a lot of people, they just think, oh, you don't need a job, or they want to think for you, not understanding that you basically are trying to just start something small and trying to get it going. And as you try to get it to go in the Black community, what you have are a lot of narrow-minded people who basically, again, they don't understand how businesses are supposed to grow. And that's something that I'm going to go in depth on, because when it comes down to Black people, we love to talk about supporting Black-owned businesses, but a lot of those Black people who talk about supporting Black-owned businesses basically won't spend a dime with any Black people. That's what I've run into, sadly, from my own personal experience, as I've gone out here and put a lot of my own money towards building up the SJS Direct imprint, as I've gone out here and looked to build up the SJS Direct imprint and look to try to target Black customers. One of the things that I run into is that when you try to target the Black customer, they're the ones who give you the most resistance. And as they give you the most resistance, they basically are the one who will try to find every excuse to avoid going out here to support a Black-owned business. Now, there was a comment left on the video I did about Black-owned businesses that I did this morning, and that comment was about, I talked about Black build businesses having to need a base. Now, when it comes down to these other people, like the Asians and the Arabs and the Hispanics and the whites who come to our community, they can go out here and create a base of customers in the Black community. I mean, when it comes down to the Korean nail salon, this Korean immigrant can come all the way over to America, go set up, get money from the government, set up a shop in a Black neighborhood, and basically have that base to be able to start their business, and then follow that base up by going out here and being able to expand. They can go out here and expand because they can prove their concept in the Black community. And as they prove their concept in the Black community, they can go out here and look to expand and build their business in our community. I mean, that's basically what's happened in the Black community, not only with nail salons, but also with hair. I mean, when it comes down to Black people and our hair, basically, I remember a time when barbers were all Black in the 1980s, when my father used to drive me all the way to the barbershop on Frederick Douglass Boulevard. I remember when the barbershops were mostly Black, and sadly, as the time went on and we went from the 80s to the 90s, what happened was many of the Black barbers sadly did not look out for their base, and as they did not look out for their base, they wound up losing their base to Dominicans who came into the neighborhood. And as they came into the neighborhood, Black barbers basically started going out of business. And one of the reasons why the Black barbers went out of business is because they just didn't understand how to do business. No, they basically saw the barbershop as a hangout in many cases, and they didn't see it as a serious business. Meanwhile, the Dominican came in and basically operated it as a business. I mean, I remember in the mid 90s, when I was working at a supermarket, basically these guys were open at 9 o'clock. And I remember, I had to work. I was working 11 to 5 at the food emporium when I first started, and I could come in there at 9 o'clock, go get my fade tightened up, and basically be on my way to work. I mean, that's how these guys basically ran their shop. And I remember sometimes after coming home from work, I could even go to that shop at 3 o'clock, pop in, get my flat top again trimmed. And again, when it came to the Black barbers, they were still opening up at 12 o'clock. And on top of it, they didn't have their operation together. They basically wound up with not having change or not being organized or not listening to the customer. Meanwhile, Dominican comes in, has a business together, and as a result, they basically wound up taking the base of Black customers away from that business. And I know it's a bit of a tangent. And the same thing happened with Black female nail salon. I mean, not nail salons, hair salons. The Koreans came in and basically took over Black hair care. And again, that's really sad because, again, I remember when both of those industries were run by Black people. But the sad part is with Black people, again, we talk about supporting Black-owned businesses, but a lot of us basically don't spend money with our people. And that's something that I find to be quite troubling, that we don't spend money with our people. And the quickest way to get rid of a group of Black people is to basically go out here and do three things. One is go out here and say you own a Black-owned business. You basically empty a room in a minute if you say you own a Black-owned business. And if you also say you're a person who's doing things like I produce, like books here on the SJS Direct imprint, if you're a Black person who's in business to produce books, then you're going to see people basically running like the Flash. And the third way you can clear a room is to go out here and ask them to spend money at a Black-owned business and a Black-owned business that goes out here and produces books. You will basically clear a room in about less than 5 seconds as related to going out here and presenting that type of business to people. Black folks will basically run away, and I've seen this on social media. I mean, I've seen this basically as I go on social media, because recently this week I was on the site Threads, and I heard a lot of folks, they were sitting up here complaining about DC Comics and DC Comics not producing a Black series for over 1,000 days on their publishing company. And I sat there and I put up a comment and said, how about we support many of the Black-owned comics that are coming out right now? Because we're living in a golden age of Black folks. We're living in a golden age of Black creators who basically understand the game as related to business, in that you don't need DC Comics anymore to be able to say you're a successful comic creator. No, in this era of crowdfunding, in this era of Kickstarter and Indiegogo, a Black creator can basically own their characters and own their story and basically go out here and turn this into a wealth building asset. But sadly, when it comes down to Black people, they're still looking for the white company of DC Comics to go out here and be able to produce Black characters. They're still sitting up here looking for the white company to go out here and make that character. But when you go out here and press those same Black people, like I did on Threads, what happens is that you get all of these excuses from Black people. I mean, once you start saying, hey, I got a comic or I got a product, why don't you check this product out? That's where the cognitive dissonance comes in as related to some of these Black folks. Basically, again, these are the people who will sit there and say, hey, we need more Black characters. We need more Black stories. But when a Black independent creator comes to that person, this same person will start going out here and getting defensive. And then when you present them a product, they start going out here and making every excuse to avoid going out here and supporting that same Black product. That's what I ran into when I was on Threads for a couple of days. Basically, folks, I would tell them, how about you check out my books? And all of a sudden, you get all these excuses. And these people would go out here and say, we can support the Black product too. Okay, I'm presenting you with the Black product. Again, presenting you a Black product like this John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse. Again, showing you that I can go out here and get professional A-list talent to be able to work on my projects like Des Taylor and people like Bill Walko and Romel Umol done fantastic work. And people, you present them with that material. And the thing they want to tell you is, nah, I don't want to go out here and support your stuff. But these same people are the ones who will be crying and complaining, oh, they don't make any black products. And then some of them will go on and say, hey, why aren't there any black owned businesses? But when it comes time to spend the money, there's some sort of disconnect because they don't understand that if you want black products and you want black products from black owned businesses, you've got to put your money where your mouth is, because business owners like myself can only produce more material if you go out here and support the business we're trying to build. We can only go out here and expand have the base for our business if you spend the money, because a lot of people didn't understand it. That's why I was talking about that in the previous video about scaling up businesses, because I understand what it is to scale up a business. And in order to get to the point where you can scale up a business for expansion, you have to go out here and prove your concept. You have to go out here and start proving that concept and showing everyone in the business world that you have a base. You have to show people, okay, there's a base of people we know we can count on to be able to go out and buy this product on the regular. And we need to see a consistent pattern of people buying this product from you. We need to see those sales as related to things. I mean, this is how business runs. You have to have those units out here. You have to have that, again, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. I mean, you have to have a large aggregate of numbers to show that there's a base before you can go out here and start talking to investors. You've got to have the base, and this is where black people, again, the cognitive dissonance comes in. They're thinking, oh, we can just have the black-owned business, and it can just be there. But if there's no base of customers and no consistent base of customers, you can't expand that business because you don't have a core audience that lets people know, hey, there's people who want this product. There's people who are out here who we know we can trust to come out here consistently. And unfortunately, when it comes down to black people and their spending patterns, it's sadly consistently inconsistent as related to spending with black-owned businesses like my SJS Direct imprint. And I'll give you two examples of that. I mean, when I did the John Haynes series, there was people buying it regularly until about the time I did the John Haynes at Death Store Kickstarter and the John Haynes Godbreaker book. I mean, when I did those two things, I started to see a decline in sales. I mean, for two reasons, I believe, because some people thought, oh, you did the John Haynes at Death Store Kickstarter, so that means that you're okay, and I don't need to continue to support you anymore. And then there was the John Haynes Godbreaker book, which made some people upset because I was showing a black man taking power that God had given him. So those are things that I ran into as related to black people. Again, they would go out here and they would look to buy the books to a point. But again, you need to have the consistent numbers if you want to go out here and show, hey, this character is viable. This character can be expanded upon, and we can go into trying to do different things. Yeah, I got 88 pledges for the Kickstarter, which showed that there was a start of an audience as related to the black grassroots, but I needed to have, again, consistent growth in order to ensure that I could go out here and look to possibly go out here and look to do things that would further expand the popularity of John Haynes, like showing, hey, this comic book did okay. So whilst we have a base for readers, and with the base, we can go out here and look to reach more customers. Again, you got to have a base to go out here and reach more customers. And that's the thing that flies over the heads of a lot of black people. And the same thing happened with another book I did, with the Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer book. One of the reasons why I was really pushing hard for this book was because of the success of Spellbound. Spellbound did pretty well as related to its campaign, But every time I tried to go out here and further expand, basically the audience basically disappeared. And I was trying to finish Matilda's story, but sadly the audience didn't consistently stay the way they did with J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. I mean, with J.K. Rowling, the audience stayed with J.K. Rowling from the first to the seventh book and even came back for Cursed Child. They understood that as a base, they needed to be there if they wanted more Harry Potter books. I mean, I would love to, again, have continued to expand the Spinsterella story, but the audience just wasn't there. And again, when it comes down to Black people, again, the consistently being inconsistent, they don't see how it hurts many Black-owned businesses like my SJS Direct imprint, and it hurts our businesses because what happens is we want to go out here and expand. We want to go out here and invest, but if we don't have that consistent base that looks to spend money, then we can't go out here and ask investors to come in and spend money. And again, these are the same Black people who will say, hey, we need Black-owned businesses. We need to support Black-owned businesses. But the whole problem is that if you want Black-owned businesses, you have to go out here and spend your money with that business. You have to spend your money with that business, because the only way that business owner like myself can grow that business is if we can go out here and show that there's a base, one, and two, we can show that people are consistently buying the products. Now, that's something that, again, is a problem with a lot of Black people. Again, like I said before, we are consistently inconsistent, and we sit there and we talk about how we need Black-owned businesses and we need to go out here and, again, spend our money. But a lot of us don't spend our money, and that keeps me from being able to do things like group economics, like I did in the case of the John Haynes book. Again, I basically, when I'm doing John Haynes, when I did the John Haynes books, I mean, I was like Des Taylor. This is a Black artist who did this cover. Same thing for John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. Mike Williams is a Black artist. I'm trying to keep money in the Black community. And that's something that a lot of Black people don't understand. You know, I want to go out here and hire more brothers and sisters. I want to go out here and put money in their pocket. You know, I'm an unemployed guy, but I'm still trying to put money in brothers and sisters' pockets. But the problem is that many of us, basically, we just don't really support those brothers and sisters who are out here trying to do stuff legit. No, we don't go out here and support those people. Meanwhile, what happens is that if you come to Black people with some sort of con, like a Dr. Umar Johnson. I mean, Dr. Umar Johnson, basically, this guy came to the Black community talking about he wanted to open up a school and didn't even, again, open up that school. He basically took Black people's money, similar to the way the Black pastor takes Black people's money. I mean, the Black pastor is another guy who comes to the Black community talking about how he's preaching the word of God, but he's not bearing any fruit. And that's another problem with Black people. Again, we talk about supporting Black-owned businesses, but we don't really, again, support the businesses that are looking to bear fruit. I mean, we'll go out here and look to plant those seeds, and the seeds basically can't really grow because they just don't get that water. They just don't get that nourishment. And since it doesn't get that nourishment, you really can't go out here and be able to grow that business. That's what many Black-owned businesses running up into. Meanwhile, again, when it comes down to Black people, we will go out here and drop millions of dollars in the pocket of the Black pastor. We will drop millions of dollars in the pocket of a Dr. Umar Johnson, and we won't demand any accountability. Meanwhile, the Black business owner who's doing things legit like myself, many of those same Black people, they want to come to you and, again, start asking a whole bunch of questions about, well, don't you hire Black artists? Don't you do other things? And it's like, you're not coming to Umar with them questions, but you coming to me with those questions, and I can answer the questions. Again, I'm showing you again, 2 covers by Black artists, and also showing you, again, a level of improvement from as related to things. Because I started out doing books with hand-drawn covers. That's how I started SJS Direct. But when you got Black folks, again, they look for excuses to avoid spending with the Black person. Meanwhile, they allow $3.3 trillion of cash and credit to go outside of their community. I mean, 3.3 trillion in cash and credit. 97% of Black dollars go out of the Black community to other people, and the remaining 3% that stays in the community also goes to the suburbs because the Black pastor doesn't even live in your neighborhood. No, none of that money stays in your community the way it did during the days of Black Wall Street. Now, in the days of Black Wall Street, basically, most of our money stayed in our community because we spent with each other. But these days, when it comes down to Black people, we don't want to spend with each other. And the saddest part about us not wanting to spend with each other is that we look for excuses to avoid spending with each other. We will go out here again and be out here talking about, hey, I need to support a Black-owned business. We need to support the Black-owned businesses. But when it's time to put the dollars in the community, then we don't put the money in the community. And I understand that, some Black folks out here, they have been burnt by some Black-owned businesses and some Black business people who have been kind of shisty. I mean, I've run into some of those when I was out here, doing the Spinsterella Goth Girl summer book. I got burnt by a couple of artists who basically, just they gave me poor quality art, and I have that poor quality art on Patreon, but I still want to put Black people first. I don't want to be one of those guys like I saw online talking about we can support yours too. No, my mindset is that I'm going to try to support the Black person first. I'm going to make every effort to support the Black person first and put that Black business first, because everybody else is, again, out here looking for the Black dollar. But the sad part is that we don't spend our dollars with our own people first. I mean, when the Korean hair and nail salon come to the Black community, they look to make Black customers first, as related to making their base to take your money and be able to live outside of your community. One, to send their kids to private schools, and you're sitting here, and again, your kids basically can't even get textbooks at the local public school, and you're sitting there, again, not connecting the dots as related to how you're spending your dollars is making other people rich, getting other people a better education. Meanwhile, your quality of life as a Black person basically is stuck in stagnation. Your quality of life is stuck in a place where you remain at the bottom because you put the Black business person last and you don't put the Black business person first. Now, I also understand, when it comes down to some people, they basically, again, have been burnt by Black-owned businesses. I mean, I've run into that myself as well. I recently, I tried to support a Black barbershop, and basically they took 2 hours to do my hair. So I wanted to continue to support them, but sadly, they didn't. They just wasn't on point. I mean, I understand that, you start in the business, but you got to have your stuff together as related to your business. That's something that I tried to do here with SJS Direct. That's why I went to the lengths to make sure that all 3 of the books were available for pre-order for the second year in a row before, they were supposed to be released. I mean, you're supposed to have your stuff on point, and that's what I ran into. I mean, you take 2 hours to cut a head that a Dominican can cut in 30 minutes, and then you ain't got no change. I mean, no, you can't be running no business real sloppy. You got to be on point with your business. That's one of the things I try to be with SJS Direct. Tried to be, on point with my business because, you want your stuff to be up to a certain standard. Now, I know, I'm a one-man operation, and sometimes a typo will slip here and there, but I will have gone over that script multiple times, like I just recently did with the John Haynes book. I went through this again when I got the paperback, And I just did a round of edits and got the book up on KDP right now. So I try to make sure that everything that I'm doing, is of high quality. I try to make sure that it's the best it can be, as a business owner. And as a Black business owner, I want to go out here and make stuff that is of high quality. I want to give you the best quality, as a Black person, because I know that when you're a Black owned business, you're running up, or against not only, people believing that the white man's ice is colder, but your own people basically looking for every, little thing to go out here and nitpick as related to the products that you produce or the service you produce. They're looking to, nitpick every little thing as related to things. They look to, go out here and say, oh, this is not right, or this is not right. Because this is what I ran into, with things like when I did the first Bill Walko cover, Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess. First thing people were saying, oh, the characters are too light skinned. Oh, the hair textures are wrong. You're running into this. They're looking for excuses. Meanwhile, you can go over to Marvel Comics and they can have Black characters and their hair can be straight. Their skin colors can be any color that they want. And those people will say, oh, that character is Black. Meanwhile, the Black character, like when I did Isis, they'll say, oh, that Black character from a Black creator is white. And that just boggles my mind. A Black character from a Black creator is white, but the Black character from the white creator is Black. I mean, that's just the levels of spellbound thinking, I run into as related to the excuses Black folks make. I mean, a lot of times, again, you go out here and you look to work to try to help people in your community, but they got excuses for anything to not spend that money. I mean, it's like trying to pry money out of a dead man's hand when you're a Black business owner to get it out of the hands of Black people. And I remember, watching a YouTube video. I think his name is Brandon Easton, and he made a sad talking point, about how you would have to reach, all these other groups like these foreigners and white people before you can reach the Black audience. And I was deeply saddened by that because, you come out here as a Black business owner, you want to put Black people first, but the pattern that I'm seeing is that you got to go to other people. That's what I was doing when I was giving books away for free. I mean, the foreign audience was picking up books and still couldn't reach the Black audience. I mean, even when I would do things like Harlem Book Fair, you still couldn't reach the Black audience. I mean, and it had me wondering, what do you have to do to get Black people to come out of their wallet? I mean, we'll come out of our wallet and spend $100 on some Air Jordan sneakers. We'll go out here and spend $500 or to $1,000 on an iPhone. We'll go out here and, spend our money on everybody, but we won't spend it on our people. We won't spend it on our people. And in fact, we look for reasons to not spend our money with our people. And as we look to not spend our money with our people, we basically don't see how we become our own worst enemy. We don't see, how we become our own worst enemy. Again, as related to scrutinizing, Black-owned businesses, we don't see how we basically keep ourselves from being able to expand the economy in our community. We keep ourselves from being able to go out here and being able to work to find the people who will give us jobs, because when it comes down to many of these businesses, and like I've seen here in the Bronx, many of these folks, like the Korean hair and nail salon, the Hispanic bodega, again, the white supermarkets, they hire their own people and have them working in their stores. Meanwhile, our people are not working for anyone. And as we're not working for anyone, we're basically our people sitting up struggling, not understanding that the money we spend with our people basically is how we keep money in our community. I mean, that's how we keep money in our community. And that's how we build the wealth. And that wealth allows us to go from having economic power to being able to do other things again, as related to improving the quality of life in our community. And the sad part is we don't connect that dot as related to our group economics in understanding we have to work with other Black people. We have to work with other Black people. But the thing is, we don't start with the core base of looking to spend with ourselves. And that's sadly how our community continues to stay broke. Now, one of the guys here, Jackson 8Y8U, he talks about customer service. And this is another issue that I found as related to people with Black-owned businesses. I mean, these days, people, they have issues with customer service. It's something I try to address because I get people who want me to make videos, and I try my best, if they send me a PayPal or a Cash App, to be able to get that video out as soon as I can. That's all part of the customer service. And the whole thing is that when it comes down to some Black people, they don't really understand things like patience or things like, again, being tactful and professional as related to a situation. If you have a situation, you have to learn how to navigate through your emotions to be able to communicate with that business owner about, what problem you have. And this is something I'm going to go more in depth on in an upcoming video. When it comes down to Black-owned businesses, one of the really big problems we have is a lot of us get emotional and in our feelings. And sadly, as we're looking to try to build a business and trying to build professional relations, what happens is a lot of us let our feelings get in the way of business. And this is something that I've run into. I ran into it with Obsidian as related to the whole passport situation. Now, the Sean James Initiative basically was helping me to get myself, out of a long-term unemployment situation. And I was trying to get back on my feet. But that video that I did in 2019, many of these Black men basically got in their feelings, got upset, and again, basically got so in their feelings that they weren't thinking about the long-term things as related to Black-owned businesses. And as a result, sadly, they put their feelings about an opinion about Black men and passports and foreign women over business. And sadly, as a result, what happened is that I lost 50% of my Patreon, and basically Obsidian is no longer on YouTube. Again, Black men not really thinking about the bigger picture because they let their feelings get in the way. Now, that's not the first thing situation I've run into. I remember another situation where I was trying to work with a guy who was doing manga, but he let his personal feelings about the Red Party and Donald Trump get in the way. And then, he made an ad hominem attack about my heart attack. And that's when I said, after giving this guy a second chance, can't work with you anymore, and that's something that, again, we have to get past, because when it comes down to these whites and non-Blacks, when it's about their business, they can put their feelings to the side about whatever they're feeling and continue to do business, especially the business of anti-Black racism. When it comes to the business of anti-Black racism, they can come together and put their feelings aside. They can put their feelings aside and basically work together to keep us out of business. But when it comes down to us, we let our feelings get in the way. And as we let our feelings get in the way, what happens with a lot of us is we wind up undermining ourselves, like in the sad case of that whole passport situation. Now, that entire narrative, I talked about it 6 years ago, now has been completely debunked. And basically, Black men now, most of them understand that the whole passport narrative is a false one. And it's sad that, again, it took them 6 years to understand. And sadly, it cost me, again, so much as related to things, because I had to deal with cyber stalking, had to unfriend people. Again, you couldn't work with folks because Black folks, again, we have a problem with not being able to navigate through our emotions and look at the bigger picture. We can't really go out here and navigate through our emotions as related to things. We really, we can't really understand. We got to keep your feelings in check if you want to move something ahead. If you want to move ahead, you've got to say, okay, I may have a disagreement with that brother, but he's a good brother, so I'm gonna still work with that brother. And if there's an issue, I'm going to let that person know, this is where you need to improve, in private. Because when the white guys and them foreigners come in, they talk to each other in private. They don't take it personal. And that's another thing that black people do. We take business real personal, and you can't take business personal. If somebody takes you to the side and talks to you, you have to listen to what they're saying. Now, I recently had one of my a business a guy who I will see as a sort of a business associate. He kind of talked to me about the covers, as related to the art, and I just said, okay, since we talking about it, I'll try to talk to some artists, and that's why one of the reasons why I was talking to Des Taylor, because he was like, okay, the books have good stories, but the art on the covers, you need to continue to improve it. Now, that's one of the reasons why I got Des Taylor for, these covers, because I'm still trying to improve. I'm still hoping, to work with different comic artists, and continue to improve the quality. That's one of the things I've been trying to do as related to things. And at first I was like, okay, this guy's saying there's something wrong with the covers. But then I said, okay, let me go out here and take what he's saying, because this is a person who's a potential customer. And okay, I'll listen to what they're saying, and I'll go out here and try to reach some other artists and try to talk to them. Because another thing that people don't understand is that's real hard to get comic artists, to work on your project, especially ones that have, solid professional reputations. I mean, when you're a small independent publisher, a lot of them want, especially if they work for Marvel and DC, they want to be kind of snobbish, and they want to say, I'm working for Marvel and DC, so I don't really need to work with you. So it's hard to really, get those artists on a cover. And that's something a lot of folks don't understand. It's real hard to get an artist for a cover, because some people don't really appreciate the opportunity. They're just thinking, oh, this guy, he's trying to get over on me, or he's trying to get ahead as related to my name. And that's not the case at all. When it comes down to many publishers like myself, we just want to make sure we can get our products out and make sure that they're quality. And we might get a boost as related to sales if people know who that artist is, but this is a whole different circle. Trade publishing is a different circle than comic books. But the reason why I would look to use comic artists is, again, comics were how I learned how to read. Comics were how that was the first books I read when I was 4 years old. And I wanted to pay it back as related to, an industry that's been suffering over the years, and basically put money in artists' pocket. Because if you say you, again, are about supporting comics, you're not just buying Black-owned comics like I do. You're also going out here and supporting the artists by giving them commission work. And that's what you want to do. And again, if you've got credit, you can go out here and get better work, because if you can go out here and say, oh, my art was on the cover of this book, and basically it's out here selling right now, again, that's a selling point as related to helping to improve your career. And that's what I was trying to do, with the comic artists out here. And again, just like I do with as a Black business owner, I want to go out here and create products that present you a positive image of Black people, show you a richer picture of Black life that the mainstream media won't do, because the mainstream media ain't, doing no fantasy stories. They're not doing no horror stories. They're not doing any, stories about Black on Black love anymore. I mean, if you go to many of these publishers, which are controlled by white women, and you look at the Black stories that they do, either they're street stories or the story of the single successful Black woman who can't find a man. I mean, they have basically, they create Black books that fit white narratives. They don't go out here and create Black books that, fit our stories and really show a richer picture of our experience. That's something that I try to do here. But again, when it comes down to Black people, we don't understand, in order to get those products that you want, you have to support those products that are out here in order to, again, show that there is a base. I mean, if you want a certain type of TV show or a certain type of movie, you've got to go out here and support the books that started. I mean, many of the movies and TV shows that are out here start with books like of John Haynes or a Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. I mean, many of those black shows, again, were concepts that were created by people being showing that there was a base. I mean, if people see that there's a base out here that's going to go out here and buy a product regularly, that's when, again, people can say, hey, I like that concept. It's looking interesting. Maybe we can go out here and, talk about, expanding into other products. You can go out here and look to do other things. I mean, this is things that many people, really don't understand. They don't understand, if you want black products, you've got to spend money with black creators because white creators ain't interested. I mean, DC Comics ain't interested in making no black series. Yeah, they'll make an occasional book like the Black History Month history of the DC universe, the Dakota incident. That's something that they just do to basically say, hey, we did our diversity, equity, and inclusion. We met our quota, but we're not interested in that as related to producing it regularly. No, their bread and butter is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. That's how they make their money. And they don't go out here and look to, again, appeal to black people. No, you've got to go to black publishers like myself if you want that type of work. But sadly, black people, we haven't connected that dot the way Latinos have, the way Asians have, because in their countries, when they want stories that feature people that look like them, they're the ones who will be out here supporting the novellas as related to their soaps and supporting their manga. They're out here putting their products first. And that's what I've seen over the years. Hispanics will, again, they'll be out here. If a novella is coming out, the novella is first if it's on the air. And if the Hispanic writer comes out, they are being put first. Same thing with the Asian writers. Again, their stuff is first. When the manga comes out, the manga is put first. But the whole thing is with the black community, we don't spend our money first with ourselves because I hear a lot of people, again, we talk about B1, but we sadly don't practice being B1 because practicing B1, again, being black first, is that when you hear about a black product, you go out here and spend your money with those brothers first. I mean, I recently just went out here and put in a pledge for a Kickstarter for a Blackenstein book. And that book, again, when I saw that it was again made by a black creator, it was a black creator. I mean, he was on Kickstarter, and he had his book, and I said, okay, I'm gonna put some money in it. They call it The Monster of Blackenstein. I'm gonna, leave a link to this book in the chat. I'm gonna leave a link to this book in the chat. So, because this is the latest book that I want you guys to pick up. So, this is a book that, again, is out here right now because I try to, again, put my money, where my mouth is. I'm not just going out here, talking as a black business owner about supporting my business, but I also go out here and put the money down on black products because if I want to see stories about people who look like me, I've got to put the money where my mouth is. And again, a lot of us, we go out here and again talk the good game, but when it's time to spend the money, we got money again for the sneakers and giving Nike $200, even $1,000 for exclusive sneakers. We got the money to give Apple for an iPhone. But if a black man like myself says, hey, this John Haynes book costs $10 in paperback, or it's $5.99 on Kindle, people will basically, they'll be like, oh, that's too much money. I mean, you just got through spending a bunch of money with Nike and Apple, but a black person asking you for basically the same cover price as Barnes and Noble, that's too expensive for them. All of a sudden, again, this is another excuse, again, that's related to the black person. All of a sudden, black people will start saying, I ain't got no money. It costs too much. Now, I know that there's some black businesses out here that do charge higher prices because they have to deal with higher costs. But I also know that there's some hustlers out here who are looking to get top dollar. But the whole thing is, if a person has a business and again is going out here and having stuff up to standard, and up to standard, you have to be able to do that. And that's something a lot of people don't understand. Now, Jackson 8Y8U asks, how about contacting Robert Johnson? He has a film company. Well, you can't go to a film company until you have a base. In order, again, this is a process that goes on. You have to have a base of readers in order to show, okay, when we spend that $1 million on that project, like a Temptation of John Haynes movie, there's going to be a base that shows up. I mean, one of the reasons why J.K. Rowling was able to easily get a big budget for Harry Potter was because she basically could show there is a base. And when she was able to show there was a base, what could happen is, okay, we'll make that Harry Potter movie. We'll put a bigger budget on it. And we'll do that because we know that there's going to be a return on the investment. We know that people are going to come out for Harry Potter. We know that people are going to come out if this movie is true to the source material. Again, people invest when they see a base. When they see a base of individuals, they will be like, okay, now we can come in. Now we know that there's like, okay, 100,000 people. We can go out here and know we can sell to at least maybe 40, 50,000. I mean, that's the whole thing with Black folks. We don't understand that, if I have a base, I can go out here and sell and expand. But we go out here and think, oh, they're just supposed to just make stuff for you. No, nobody's going to make anything for you, unless they can see a return on the investment. When people see that, okay, yeah, you put your money into it and you're getting something back. So the concept is proven. And so now I can go out here and feel safer about the risk. I can feel safer about that risk. And, going out here and as related to things, I mean, this is how business works. But a lot of us, we really don't understand that. We really, don't understand that at all. We don't understand, if you want, again, if you want Black-owned businesses, you've got to spend money with Black-owned businesses. I mean, if you want Black businesses to be able to invest in you, like going out here and hiring other Black people, in order for us to be able to hire Black people, we have to have money coming in. But sadly, a lot of us, basically, we don't understand this and we starve our businesses. And as we starve our businesses, we work against ourselves. We wind up working against ourselves. And that's the thing that causes many business owners like myself a lot of stress, because one of the reasons why I believe I was basically was on the road to a heart attack was because I was basically stressed out because of the last 2 years. Basically, sales have been dropping, and as sales of the books have been dropping, also the YouTube revenue has been dropping. And I was trying to do everything in my power to try to get things going back up again. But sadly, things were not going. And as I was out here stressing and having anxiety attacks and, things were going on, my heart was getting, bad. And after I turned 50, my heart started getting bad. And I was still trying to hang in there, still trying to do what God told me and keeping the go. But sadly, basically, things just hit a roadblock when I'm in July of last year. And that's when I had this heart attack, and I'm still trying to go on. But the whole thing is that it basically shows me that, when it comes down to, you trying to be a Black business owner, again, you just wind up so stressed out. You wind up so stressed out because you just really care about your own people and you want to go out here and do your best for your people. But sadly, again, we don't understand. Again, when we go out here and starve our businesses, we again hurt ourselves. We don't really understand that at all. No, what we do is, again, we start getting defensive, start getting in our feelings. Oh, I don't want to spend no money with that Black person. I got every reason to not spend the money with the Black person. Meanwhile, the white person comes along, exact same ideas, exact same concept. And what happens is, oh, the wallet comes out, the money's ready to be spent. And it's no problem. You got no problem spending the money with the white man. You think his ice is colder, and sadly, what he's given you is ice that he's basically peed on or stuck in the back of the building, and you're thinking that that ice is better. Meanwhile, the black man's ice is basically coming out of fresh flowing water, is basically clean, but you find everything wrong with that ice, and that's a problem again many black folks have as related to black owned businesses. Again, we won't spend with each other. We won't go out here and spend a dollar with each other, but we also sit here and say, hey, these white companies, they need to go out here and make stuff. Like in the case of the many of these black comic fans as related to DC Comics, well, why should they go out here and make a comic featuring one of their black characters if you don't go out here and buy the black characters from the black owned comic owners? Critical question I have to ask: how can you ask a white company to do for you what you won't support from a black person? I mean, how can you go out here and ask this white company and white corporation to do for you what you won't support from your own community? I mean, in order to, again, I'll connect the dots for people, show the base is there. You got to come out for the black product first. And if you come out for the black product first, then the white company will think about, hey, maybe we want to buy that product, or maybe we want to go out here and make a knockoff. And that's what some black folks want to see. I mean, again, I think if John Haynes became popular, DC Comics would dust off Mal Duncan from the Teen Titans and put him with Raven or something like that and make a John Haynes-esque type version. That's what they would do over at DC. They would make a knockoff, of a John Haynes. If John Haynes was to become super popular, they would go out here and dust off Mal Duncan. And in the case of Marvel, they would go out here and dust off Jim Rhodes or something like that and put him in a story. That's what they would do if they saw a black concept doing well. And in the case of like ISIS, they would do something like the Storm. I mean, this is what these companies do. They like to rip off, again, of black-owned businesses when stuff winds up getting popular. But the whole thing is that when it comes down to black folks, things can't really get any sort of momentum and start building up speed because we don't go out here and, again, put the money behind by the people who want to build something. No, if a huckster comes to black people or a con man like a black pastor comes to black people, our wallets are open. But when it comes down to legitimate black businesses, the wallet stays closed. And that's something that basically baffles me. I mean, people who are out here looking to do stuff legit, basically black people will find every way to avoid them. Again, if you want to empty a room of black people, say you got a black owned businesses, you will see people basically running for the exit. You want to see black folks disappear. You want to clear a room, just say, hey, I got a black owned business and I'm looking for some customers. The room will empty in about 5 seconds. You'll see no black people at all. I mean, it'll be completely empty. And especially if you say you're a black-owned business that produces books, I mean, books are like kryptonite to some of these black folks. It's like you want to get them out of the room, just say you're doing books. But the whole thing is that we don't see how things go as related to things, as related to business. Jackson, we have things like the Harlem Book Fair, but the whole thing is I spent money on that early on, but nobody paid attention. So I had to go back online. So I spend the money, but again, you can't keep going out here and spending money. Eventually you reach a point where, you just can't spend it anymore. And that's what I ran into after I lost my job. I went to the Harlem Book Fair. I spent over $1,000 both times, trying to build the audience, but the audience just wasn't there. Now, my books really weren't that great back then because I was doing hand-drawn covers, but still, couldn't go out here and be able to, reach the customer because the customer will just pass you by. But if you got some foolishness going on, black folks is there. I mean, if you got some real stupid foolishness going on, black folks is there. They love stuff like drama, but we won't, again, come out of our pockets for something really good. I mean, if you got something like Kevin Samuels with high value, man, I mean, the super chats are there, the cash apps are there. If you talking, bad about black women, the super chats are there, the cash apps are there. But when you start talking, stuff like I'm talking about right now, basically people close their wallets. They don't want to hear nothing about, supporting black owned businesses. They don't want to hear nothing about, giving money to another black person. I don't know if it's like jealousy of another black person, as related to that. I mean, I don't know if people, get jealous that when they hear another black person, doing something on their own, because that was something I ran into. I did an interview with John Jay College for a CUNY office assistant job. And I remember this sister was a part of the interview, and she just got so mad when she read my resume and saw SJS Direct on there, talking about, you got a business, why you want this job? I mean, if I pass the civil service test, I'm qualified for the job. And these white guys can come in here and have a job and have side hustle, and ain't no problem for nobody. But the black man come in and says, you want to work and be able to have a side hustle. It's a problem when the black man want to make money, but when the white man or the non-black man wants to say, hey, I'm working, like I've seen many of these car YouTubers, they go out here and they're working for the city, and they got a YouTube channel where they're fixing cars and they're selling cars on the side. And nope, this people that's related to the city job ain't got no problem with that guy. Some of these guys making $100,000 a year, just they work in their city job as a mechanic, but on the side, they go out here and they make the video, and they get the AdSense dollars and the views. But when the black person goes out here, that's when we start getting personal. Oh, that black person, who does he think he is? Who does he think he is? I mean, I'm thinking that was one of the reasons why I had a hard time when I was working at City College, because people, when they hear that you've done something like go out here and, write a book or something like that, people start to get, especially with black people, they start to get jealous. And that's another thing that, hurts black owned businesses. People starting to get jealous. And, some of these black folks be like, oh, that guy thinks he's all that because he's got a business. No, I don't think that I'm all that because I'm working on business things. No, I want to help black people again. And that's the other thing that basically impedes black business is a lot of black folks, we start getting jealous and we think, oh, I don't want to spend my money with that black person. They don't want to spend that money with that black person. Meanwhile, you'll spend money with that white person. They'll take your money out of your community, go out here, and again, they're living a middle-class lifestyle at your expense. Meanwhile, the black man who wants to keep the money in your community, get you hired, keep money in your pocket, you got a problem with that black man. And that's another disconnect that many of us have. We have this disconnect as related to doing business. I mean, we spend money with other people, but other people ain't spending no money on us. They don't. I mean, if you go to any of the stores in your area, how many black people work there? Critical question you got to ask. I mean, if you go to any of these stores or any of these supermarkets or any of these grocery stores, how many black people working behind the counter? How many black people doing stock? How many black people, working in that store? That's what you got to ask yourself. I mean, how many black people are out here working at these companies that you go out here and spend your money with? I mean, that's something that we really don't understand. I mean, we spend money with other people, but they don't invest in us. Meanwhile, the black business owner who wants to invest with you, and again, is trying to show you that they're bearing fruit, you don't want to spend $1 with them. I mean, I remember a time when I had ebooks for 99 cents. And again, it was hard to even get $1 out of black people. And that shouldn't be the case as related to things. I mean, when it comes down to us, we should be spending with each other first. I mean, Juwan talks about, the owner of Black Sands running into the same thing. And again, he was the guy who made one of the more popular books. I've bought Black Sands books. It's in a box over there. I got, a lot of the Black Sands books. And again, I've been doing this for years. I mean, when it comes down to black products, I look to, again, put my money on those products because it's not just to me about producing, positive Black stories, but looking to support those brothers and sisters who are out here making moves, because we all have to work together. I mean, I look to work with those brothers and sisters, whether it be, dropping a pledge on a Kickstarter, or reviewing a book. That's another thing that I try to do, because as a publisher, I understand word of mouth is important. Word of mouth is really important in moving books. So that's why I do the review videos. I mean, now those videos don't really do that well. I mean, they barely get 100 views in some cases, compared to what many of these, again, popular YouTubers who have, again, millions subs. I mean, you would think they would be doing this type of work, but I'm the one looking to do that type of work, because I understand that you have to start building the word of mouth. Now, some of the content creators, especially, what's funny is the white ones will be really happy when they see me do a review video. They'll be like, man, I'm glad you did that review video. I'm glad you, helped me out. I mean, as related to things to get the word out. And even on social media, the white creators will be like, oh, that's great. But the whole thing is, a lot of Black folks, we don't understand, again, how important it is to, build word of mouth as related to things like books or Black-owned businesses. Again, in order to get the money flowing, we got to do the legwork together towards getting the word out about product. And we got to understand that, that when it comes down to business, this is about keeping money in your community so that you can have a better quality of life. You can go out here and have the base as related to tangibles, the base in order to, again, get your agenda going. Again, in order to do that, you need a business base. You need a business base in order to be able to get things going. But the sad part is that we don't spend our money with each other, and we don't value the Black dollar. I mean, again, $3.3 trillion in spending power in cash and credit, basically going out here, allowing many of these Koreans and these Arabs and many of these Hispanics who come off the boat to basically live a middle-class lifestyle at our expense, and allows the Black pastor to live in the lap of luxury in a white suburban neighborhood. And we don't see how if we invested that money that we have in our own community, we could be the ones living the middle-class lifestyle the way Black folks was living in Black Wall Street before it was basically bombed. We could have been living that middle-class lifestyle and basically living off our own money. That 3.3 trillion in cash and credit, we could have been the ones living off that money instead of struggling every day. We could be the ones basically, again, living off our own money. But the sad part is that we would rather give our money away to either other great people in other communities, or we would love to just go out here and say we want things, and we go to con men like Dr. Umar Johnson. I mean, Dr. Umar Johnson and the Black pastor, these two individuals, basically, they get millions of Black dollars, not to mention hustlers like Eric July. Again, they take your Black dollar and basically don't give you anything as tangible and don't give you anything of value. No, they give you absolutely nothing at all. And that's another thing that I'm wondering, why is it that Black people, when it comes down to giving our money to other people, we'll go out here and, again, give it to the worst Black people who basically look to squander our money? We will go out here and a Dr. Umar Johnson comes up, your pocketbook is ready to be open. But when a Black man comes to you legit, you ain't got no money, but this guy can come to you. You got hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and don't ask where any of the money is. I mean, every time I would get a donation, I remember one sister sent me a donation to do the Isis Samurai Goddess cover, and I maintained transparency. I showed, the cover. I showed the work. If you give, when you give me the money, I will show you transparency. I even showed, transparency on Patreon. I mean, I show people the process. The guy who's transparent, Black people don't trust, but the guy who's shifty and shady, Black people trust them with all their heart. And it just basically baffles my mind, I mean, I have to wonder, is it because the Black community is matriarchal? Is it because the Black community is matriarchal that, Black women, when it comes down to Pookie, they will trust a Pookie who will tell them what they want to hear, but the black man who tells them what they need to know or looks to hold them to a standard, basically, you know, basically they don't trust that person. Now, one full boss makes a good point. What's going on, one full boss? They say black people tend to believe anyone who speaks well. Well, I speak well right now, but the whole thing is, I'm wondering, why is it that black people always trust hucksters when it comes down to money, but when it comes down to legit brothers, they ain't got they don't trust those brothers? Is it because the black man's going to hold you accountable, or the black man is going to establish standards? I mean, those are things that I'm wondering. With people, is it because this brother's going to start holding you to standards that you don't want to be held to? Because this is another covert contract. A lot of black people have. They'll go with an Umar Johnson because they don't want to be held accountable, but they want to say passively, yeah, I went out here, I supported a black business or a black person who's looking to build a business, but aggressively, I don't want that person to succeed, because if that person succeeds, what will happen is I will be held accountable. What's going on, Rayhama Force? I'm glad to see you here. Is it because they are fear accountability? I mean, I'm wondering, what's going on here, as related to black folks. I mean, are people afraid of success? That's another thing that I'm wondering, why you don't spend money with your own people. Are you afraid that the person, is going to be successful, and then that people are going to start asking you to be successful? I mean, I've talked about this in many videos. Are you afraid that, somebody's going to hold you accountable and say, this guy has success, so somebody's going to ask me to be successful and do something? Well, I mean, I know that when it comes down to some folks, that's what they're afraid of, but there's nothing to be afraid of, because everybody's approach to success is different. This is something I tried to, get my family members to understand, because I have a brother who, he has a good education, and basically they thought, you should be getting the same type of education, but, I couldn't really do algebra or, do things that way. And, everybody's road to success is different, but a lot of black folks, again, they fear another black person coming up, and again, that's one of the things that creates the whole crab in a barrel mentality. And I think that's the other part, of black people not looking to spend money with other black people. I think that, they just think, if I spend this money with this other black person, it's going to not go right, or this person, how dare they go out here and ask for my money? That's another thing that I run into. How dare you ask for me to spend money? But you can spend money on the on stale Arab groceries or subpar Korean service at the hair and nail salon, and it's okay. But the black person looking to go out here and give you their very best, that's not good enough, for some black people. I mean, this is the stuff that, I've run into, as a black business over the last 18 years. I mean, this is what I've run into, as related to things. And again, this is the stuff that keeps many of our people poor and keep us from being able to grow. Because again, this is what I wanted to do as related to things. I wanted to have a job and then be able to do books on the side, because again, in the book business, 90% of the books you produce basically fail. So you need to have a steady income as related to things. And a lot of folks, again, they don't really connect the dots and understand that in order to get to the high levels, like guys like Bill Cosby and many of your favorite entertainers, again, you have to start with a base. You have to start with a base. But the sad part is we don't understand, the base is important. We don't understand that, if you can't go out here and create the base, you're not going to be able to reach the larger audience, because you need to show that this concept can be proven. You need to show that there's an audience for said product, and you need to show that there's people who are going to be there consistently to buy said product. You have to, again, show that there is a audience out here that will be there regularly, that's something that you have to show. And when it comes down to black folks, we haven't connected those dots as related to economics. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this live, is I wanted to go in depth, how about how our talk isn't matching our walk. And we have to get our talk matching our walk to create that base. And that base is the thing that's going to open the doors as related to us, as related to investment. And I don't mean investing in some white person or something, but again, us investing in ourselves, because expansion of businesses take time. It takes time to go out here and expand business. It takes time to build an audience. It takes time to reach a larger base of customers. And it's something that has to, again, it starts. And again, whenever we start to build momentum, sadly, a lot of us get in our own way. And with that being said, I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream. Now, before I wrap up tonight's stream, I want to repeat again, you can pick up the latest John Haynes series book on March 27th in paperback, and it's available for pre-order on Kindle right now. So you can get John Haynes an offer he can't refuse on Amazon.com right now in Kindle format and pre-order it, or you can wait for the paperback on March 27th. And this one features the first John Haynes cover from Des Taylor, and I would love to do more Des Taylor covers, but I can only do that with your help. So I'm asking you guys to pick up the first book of the SJS Direct 2026 catalog by pre-ordering it on Amazon.com right now. And I also am asking you to also, again, put in your pre-orders, because I got all three of these books up for pre-order. Esteem, A New Woman, Isis, Runway of Doom. All these books are right now up for pre-order on Amazon.com, because one of the things that I wanted to do this year is basically show how on point I am about business. And again, having product ready. Product is ready right now. And again, this John Haynes is coming out on March 27th. Isis Runway of Doom is April 17th. Esteem, A New Woman is May 15th. Again, just like your Marvel and DC comics, I got the books on a schedule ready to go. And basically, again, I can only stay around if you guys continue to, again, spend the money and support the business. And again, you can pick up those books on Amazon.com by clicking the link in the description box. And you can also, pick up older books in the SJS Direct imprint, like 2025's John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side, or A Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, or Esteem, Season of the Witch Girl. These were the 2025 books. Again, all three of these books came out on schedule and were ready to go. And I have everything ready to go as related to business, just like I did when I did my 2022 Kickstarter for John Haynes at Death's Door. I had everything ready to go for that Kickstarter. The art was done, the book was done, and we just launched right after that. And again, I'm trying to show, as a Black business owner, everything is all together and ready to go. And I'm looking to provide quality customer service. That's one of the things I try to do with the books and with the YouTube channel. People send me cash apps for videos, or they as they request them on PayPal, and I get those videos out in less than a day. So because I care about my viewers and I want them to, again, get quality service. There are some people, they'll request a video from other people. They'll take weeks to go do that video. Now, sometimes I get backed up and it happens, but I do make every effort to get those videos out, and I get them out very quickly. If you look at the records, you'll see that it comes out consistently, because, again, for me as a business owner, I want to give you the very best. And again, I understand that when it comes down to Black folks, we have to get ourselves together, because, again, if we want to, again, have products that are ones that look like us and are of quality, we've got to go out here and not only make it ourselves, but we've got to go out here and spend with those people who are going to go out here and give us their very best as related to quality of service. So I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream, and I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. I'm trying to get my health better, trying to get myself together, trying to get back on a regular schedule as related to, this recovery. I'm trying to get myself better And again, I thank everybody for staying with me and supporting me. I ask everybody, to stay who supported me through my heart attack. And I'm hoping that you guys will support me and the SJS Direct imprint as I try to build it. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. Everybody have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.